Imagine a creature born inside a cage. It sees the world through the bars but never questions their existence. Sunlight comes in, the wind slips through the gaps, the sounds of life echo outside. But to the creature, these are not promises. They are just background noise. Life has always been lived within limits, and over time, those limits stop feeling like a prison. They simply become normal. What most people don't realize is that we, as human beings, carry cages far more sophisticated than any made of steel. They are built from inherited beliefs, fears disguised as caution, obligations we accept as if they were natural laws. Society offers us a safe space, but one that's too safe. A space where we learn not to question, not to disrupt the rhythm, not to disturb the pattern. And so the cage stops being an external barrier and becomes an internal mold. Now imagine that one day, the cage door swings open. The bird doesn't fly out immediately. It looks, hesitates. The sky feels too vast, too threatening. What should be freedom feels more like danger. After all, how can you fly when you've never flown before? This is when many turn back to the familiar corner, because the safety of the prison is more comfortable than the uncertainty of the open air. We do the same thing. When an opportunity appears, when something threatens to disrupt our routine, we retreat. We call it a rational decision, but deep down, it's fear. Fear of losing control, fear of facing the emptiness that freedom exposes. It's not that we lack wings, it's that we don't know how to use them. Worse still, we've forgotten we even have them. The first break doesn't happen when the door opens. It happens when we realize we're in a cage. As long as we believe life is only what fits inside our safe space, nothing changes. The stable job, the predictable relationship, the ready-made opinions, all of it forms a comfortable cocoon that slowly replaces any desire to explore the unknown. Ironically, society doesn't even need to keep us locked up by force. We do it ourselves. We decorate the walls, give names to the bars, and even take pride in them. We call them my career, my lifestyle, my choices, when in reality they were shaped by forces we never questioned. And so staying grounded becomes a virtue. True freedom doesn't begin with the act of flying. It begins with the uncomfortable awareness that you are trapped. That's a painful realization because it means looking back at years of life and admitting you lived inside a space built by others. But that awareness is the first step. Without it, even if someone opens the door, you'll remain on the same perch, singing the same song you learned long ago. If you truly want to be free, your first movement is not physical, it's mental. It's the decision to acknowledge the cage, to face it, and to accept that while flight may be risky, the cost of never trying is far greater. Freedom is a word that feels light when you say it, but heavy when you try to live it. Most people think they are free simply because there are no visible chains around their wrists. But the truth is, the most effective prisons are the ones you can't see. And the most obedient prisoners are the ones who believe they are free. Imagine again the bird. If you put it inside a small cage with bars, it will immediately feel trapped. It will fight, scream, and throw itself against the metal until it either breaks free or gives up. But if you take those bars away and instead surround the bird with invisible glass walls, it will still be trapped, yet it will never understand why it cannot reach the open sky. That's the human condition. We live inside cages without bars, boundaries built from habits, fears, and invisible rules we never question. For example, think about how you spend your time. The moment you wake up, your phone decides what you see, your job decides where you go, and your fear of disappointing others decides what you say. None of these things have a physical chain around your neck, but they dictate your every move. Just like the bird who could fly in any direction but doesn't dare to test the edges of the glass, you move only within the limits you've been taught are safe. And here's the dangerous part. Over time, the cage becomes comfortable. The bird learns to sing within it, to find food within it, to make it feel like home. You do the same. You learn to smile through routines that suffocate you, to justify choices you never wanted, to convince yourself that you wouldn't want to fly even if you could. Comfort becomes your captor, and fear becomes the lock on the door. But why does this happen? Because freedom, real freedom, demands responsibility. The open sky is beautiful, but it's also dangerous. Out there, you have no walls to protect you from predators, no hand to feed you at the same time every day. The cage offers safety, predictability, and the illusion of control, and so you choose it without even knowing you had a choice. The truth is, the cage was never locked. For the bird, the glass could be shattered in seconds. For you, the invisible walls could be broken the moment you decide to question them. But until you see them for what they are, you will keep flying in circles, mistaking movement for freedom. A bird that has lived too long in a cage often forgets it can fly. You can open the door, but it will cling to its perch, staring at the opening like it's a dangerous trap. Freedom feels foreign, almost hostile. And that's exactly how many people react when life hands them the opportunity to change. They stay where they are, not because the cage is locked, but because they no longer trust their own wings. This is the tragedy of self-imposed limitations. At some point, you stopped being chained by the world, and you started tightening the chains yourself. Not out of malice toward your own life, but out of habit. The mind learns the patterns of safety. Same routines, same relationships, same thoughts, same excuses. It convinces you that the unknown is a predator and the familiar, no matter how suffocating, is a sanctuary. Look at your own life. How many opportunities have you turned down because they felt too risky? How many times have you convinced yourself you weren't ready when in reality you were simply afraid? This isn't just caution, it's the psychology of captivity. The bird that's forgotten the sky is not safer, it's just smaller. And over time, that smallness starts to feel like your identity. Here's the problem. The longer you stay in that cage, the harder it is to recognize it as a cage at all. You start decorating it, polishing it, even defending it from those who tell you it's holding you back. You might even resent people who have managed to break free, dismissing them as lucky or different. In truth, the only difference is that they decided to step into the terrifying open space and trust they'd figure out how to survive there. But let's be brutally honest. Stepping out isn't comfortable. Freedom isn't this romantic moment of triumph where the music swells and everything makes sense. It's messy, it's uncertain. It's a lot like that first desperate flap of wings after years of stillness. Awkward, shaky, and exhausting. You will fail. You will question yourself. And you will want to retreat. But that's the test. If you can endure the disorientation long enough, your muscles will remember how to move. Your instincts will sharpen. You will adapt. In human terms, this means confronting the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. Maybe it's finally leaving the job that drains you, even though you don't have the next step figured out. Maybe it's ending the relationship you've outgrown, despite the loneliness that will follow. Maybe it's breaking the habits you know are destroying you, the constant scrolling, the mindless consumption, the way you drown every discomfort in distractions. These aren't just behaviors, they are the bars of your cage. The bird will never understand the point of the sky until it flies in it. And you will never understand the point of your own freedom until you risk losing the safety of your prison. If you're waiting for the fear to vanish before you act, you'll never move. The fear isn't the enemy. It's the signal that you're at the edge of the cage. You're supposed to feel it. It's proof you're in the right place. So here's the truth you've been avoiding. The cage is unlocked. It always has been. The only question is whether you're willing to face the terrifying vastness beyond the door. Not everyone will. Most will choose to stay, but if you've listened this far, you already know you're not most. You've already heard the wind outside, and deep down, you know it's time to fly. A caged bird doesn't just lose its freedom, it loses its strength. Wings that don't fly grow weak. Eyes that don't scan the horizon forget how to focus far away. Instincts that once kept it alive grow dull. What looks like safety is, in reality, a slow erosion of everything that makes the bird what it is. And the same thing happens to you when you choose the comfort of your own cage over the uncertainty of the open air. At first, staying inside feels harmless. You tell yourself you're taking time to prepare, that you'll try when you're ready. But readiness is a mirage. The longer you wait, the less prepared you become. Every day spent in the cage is a day your courage atrophies. And while you may not notice it at first, life does, because opportunities have an expiration date. The door won't always stay open. There's another cost most people never consider. Your cage shapes you. You might think you're staying the same by staying safe, but you're not. You're becoming the kind of person who avoids risk, who shies away from challenge, who trades growth for predictability. And once that becomes your identity, you'll defend it at all costs. You'll tell yourself stories about why it's smart to stay put. You'll gather proof to justify your choices. You'll pretend the cage is where you want to be. But deep down, a part of you knows the truth. You've stopped living. You're only surviving. Think of all the things you once dreamed of doing, but quietly erased from your plans because they didn't fit your current comfort zone. A skill you never learned. A place you never traveled to. A version of yourself you never met. These aren't just missed opportunities. They're parts of you that never got to exist. They are the wings you never used. And here's the cruel twist. The longer you stay, the smaller your sky becomes. Soon, you can't even imagine a world beyond the bars. The bird forgets what it's like to ride the wind. You forget what it's like to take a risk and win. When you see someone else soaring, you don't feel inspired. You feel a pang of resentment, maybe even anger, because their flight is a reminder of your stillness. If this content makes sense to you, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Thank you. The price of staying is not just what you lose, it's what you become. A bird born to fly that convinces itself walking is enough. A human born to create, explore, and grow who settles for repetition, avoidance, and quiet resignation. Here's the truth you might not want to hear. Every comfort you cling to comes with a hidden cost. Your job security costs you ambition. Your predictable routine costs you excitement. Your refusal to try costs you the life you could have had. You think you're preserving what you have, but you're actually trading it for something far less valuable: certainty. And certainty is a poor substitute for freedom. You have to decide what matters more: avoiding the discomfort of the unknown, or avoiding the regret of a life half-lived. One is temporary pain, the other is permanent. The bird that stays in the cage will die there, not necessarily in body, but in spirit. And when the end comes, it won't be the risks you didn't take that haunt you. It will be the skies you never touched. So the question is simple: will you pay the price of staying, or will you face the price of leaving? Either way, there's a cost, but only one of them buys you the sky. When the bird finally leaves the cage, the world doesn't welcome it with open skies and gentle breezes. No, the air feels heavier than expected. The wind pushes against its wings, and the rhythm of flight is awkward and exhausting. Every instinct screams to turn back, to return to the familiar perch inside the cage. That perch might have been small, but at least it didn't fight back. You will feel the same. The first steps outside your comfort zone will not feel like freedom. They will feel like chaos. The new world will seem too big, too unpredictable, and you will feel painfully unprepared. Every action will be clumsy. Every challenge will remind you of what you don't yet know, and that's exactly why most people go back. Not because the cage is better, but because the outside demands a strength they haven't yet built. This is the paradox of freedom. You don't gain the ability to fly before you leave the cage. You gain it because you leave. A bird doesn't master the wind by thinking about it. It learns by meeting the wind, fighting it, and adapting to it. In the same way, your competence, confidence, and resilience don't appear first. They are forged in the friction of real life. Here's what the first flight really feels like: doubt in your mind, fire in your chest, and the constant temptation to quit. You'll question if you made a mistake. You'll long for the ease of the cage. You'll miss the illusion of safety. But every second you keep going is a second you grow stronger. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, the chaos begins to feel like clarity. You start noticing small victories, a smoother wing beat, a longer glide, a moment when you ride the wind instead of fighting it. In your life, these are the times when you solve a problem you once thought impossible, when you endure a discomfort you never believed you could face, when you feel a flicker of pride that no one else can give you. These moments are fuel. They are proof that you can survive out here. They are also the reason you will never be fully satisfied in the cage again. But let's be clear, the first flight will bruise you. The bird may fall. It may hit branches, lose feathers, and land hard. You will have setbacks that shake you, mistakes that sting, and failures that make you question everything. That's not a sign to go back. That's the cost of learning the sky. The bird doesn't become a master in a day. You won't either. But each flight, each attempt, each painful lesson builds a body and mind that can handle more. Eventually, the bird begins to trust the air. You begin to trust yourself, and that trust changes everything. Because now, the world isn't something to fear, but something to explore. Remember this, the first flight is not about grace, it's about grit. It's not about soaring beautifully from the start. It's about staying in the air long enough to get better. The chaos won't last forever, but the freedom you earn from enduring it will. One day, you'll look back at the cage and wonder how you ever thought it was enough, and the answer will be simple: you hadn't flown yet. At first, the bird's wings moved in panic, every motion desperate just to stay above the ground. But something has changed. The wing beats are no longer frantic, they're deliberate. The body no longer fights the air, it works with it. What once felt like a constant struggle now feels like a rhythm. The bird is learning to own the sky. This is the moment when freedom stops feeling like survival and starts feeling like possibility. You've been out of the cage long enough to realize you can handle yourself here. The fear hasn't disappeared, but it no longer controls you. Instead, it has sharpened into awareness. You no longer look for the quickest way back. You look for the next horizon. Owning the sky means you begin to see opportunities you couldn't even imagine when you were trapped. The cage had walls that blocked your view, not just of the world, but of yourself. Now, with every flight, those walls fade from memory. You discover new currents of wind, new vantage points, and new instincts that guide you. The more you explore, the more you understand that the sky isn't empty. It's full of paths, each one waiting to be taken. In life, this is when you start trusting your own judgment. You make decisions without needing constant approval. You take risks without drowning in fear. You create without asking permission. And most importantly, you begin to see that discipline isn't a prison. It's the muscle that keeps you airborne. Without it, you drift aimlessly and eventually crash. With it, you can go anywhere. But here's the truth that few admit. Owning the sky doesn't mean you control it. The weather will still change. Storms will still come. Winds will still push you off course. The difference is that now, you've been through enough turbulence to know it's not the end. You've fallen before and found your way back up. You faced days when nothing went right and still kept moving forward. That resilience is your greatest flight skill. This stage is also dangerous in a quieter way. When the bird becomes confident, there's a temptation to grow careless, to think nothing can touch it now. Overconfidence can send you into storms you aren't ready for, just as much as fear once kept you from flying at all. True mastery isn't just skill, it's the humility to respect the sky. So you fly, not recklessly, but with purpose. You choose your paths wisely, knowing that not every direction is worth the energy. You begin to understand that the sky is infinite, but your time and strength are not. This realization doesn't make you smaller, it makes you sharper. Every flight becomes intentional, every challenge a choice, every horizon a promise you decide to keep. And here is where the real beauty of flight emerges. You start to see the world not as an endless battle, but as an endless opportunity. The winds that once terrified you now carry you farther than you could have gone alone. The air that once resisted you now becomes your partner. The very forces that challenged you at the beginning are now the ones that keep you aloft. The bird no longer just survives in the sky, it belongs to it. And when you reach this stage in life, you'll feel the same. You'll stop questioning whether you can do it and start asking where you should go next. The cage will be nothing but a shadow in your memory, and the sky, the vast, unpredictable, magnificent sky, will finally feel like home. There comes a point when the bird no longer thinks about flying. It doesn't question whether the air will hold it. It doesn't wonder if its wings will work. Flight has become instinct. The sky is no longer a challenge to be conquered. It is simply where the bird belongs. At this stage, the bird is not driven by the fear of falling or the excitement of novelty. The cage feels like something from another life, almost like a dream it once had but no longer believes in. The memories of those iron bars are faint, but the lessons remain. The bird carries the scars of its old captivity, not as a weight, but as a quiet reminder never to surrender its wings again. For you, this is the moment when discipline is no longer a battle with yourself. It's not something you force every morning or drag yourself through at night. It becomes your nature. You move toward your goals because you cannot imagine doing otherwise. Your routines are not chains, they are the patterns that keep you steady in any wind. And here's the truth. True freedom is not the absence of structure. It's the ability to choose the structure that serves you. The wild bird still respects the wind, the seasons, and the limits of its own strength. It knows when to fly high and when to rest. Freedom is not recklessness. It is mastery over your own direction. Looking down from the heights, the bird sees more than open space. It sees rivers, forests, mountains, and it knows that while it can fly over all of them, it cannot be everywhere at once. This is the paradox of freedom. The more possibilities you have, the more you must choose. The bird understands that every choice to fly in one direction is a choice to leave another unexplored. But this no longer feels like loss, it feels like clarity. In your own life, this is when you stop chasing everything and start choosing what truly matters. You don't say yes to every opportunity just because you can. You don't waste energy proving you're free. You already know you are. And with that knowing comes a kind of peace you could never have imagined back in the cage. The bird's flight now has grace. It can soar for hours without strain. It can ride the wind instead of fighting it. It can dive and rise again, not because it must, but because it chooses to. The world is no longer a series of threats or escapes. It's a place to explore, to experience, to live fully. And yet, the bird never loses its awareness. It knows storms will come again. It knows one wrong move could bring danger. But that knowledge doesn't paralyze it, it sharpens it. The bird accepts the unpredictability of the sky as part of the beauty of flying. In the same way, you accept that life will always bring challenges, but they no longer define you. They are simply part of the flight. When you reach this stage, you no longer need to remind yourself that you are free. You live it. Every step, every choice, every moment carries the weight of your own decision. The cage is gone, the sky is yours, and the wings you once doubted now move without hesitation. The bird doesn't just fly in the sky, it is the sky, and you, no longer trapped by fear, by excuses, by the habits that kept you grounded, are no longer just someone chasing freedom. You are freedom.